London, summer 1944. Londoners have learned a new skill. Listening. The sound arrives first. A buzzing drone. A sputtering pulse. Loud enough to hear from miles away. Everyone stops what they are doing. Talking, working, walking. They stop and listen. As long as the buzzing continues, they are safe. The flying bomb is still flying, still traveling, still somewhere else. But when the sound stops, the engine has cut out, the fuel is gone, the bomb is falling. 15 seconds from silence to impact, maybe less. This is the V1 flying bomb, the Doodlebug, and it creates terror not with surprise but with warning. You hear it coming, you hear it getting closer, you hear it stop, and then you die. German engineers designed the weapon to be cheap and simple. A pulse jet engine, an autopilot, a gyroscope, an 850-kilogram warhead. No pilot needed, just pointed at London and launch. The weapon flies itself until the fuel runs out. Then it falls. Between June 1944 and March 1945, over 9,000 V1s were launched at England. RAF fighters tried to shoot them down. Anti-aircraft guns fired thousands of rounds. Barrage balloons filled the sky. But thousands got through, and every Londoner learned to listen for that sound. The buzzing that meant death was flying overhead, and the silence that meant death was falling. The problem facing Germany in 1944 was strategic. The Luftwaffe was being destroyed. Bomber losses over England were catastrophic. Experienced pilots were dying faster than they could be replaced. Germany needed to strike British cities but could not afford to lose aircraft and crews. The solution was pilotless weapons. Remove the pilot, make the aircraft disposable, launch it at the target and let it fly itself. If it gets shot down, Germany loses a cheap machine instead of a trained pilot and expensive bomber. Development began in 1942 at the Fiesler Aircraft Company. Chief designer Robert Lusser led the project. The concept was revolutionary. Build a flying bomb that could navigate to London automatically and fall when its fuel ran out. Make it simple enough to mass produce. Make it cheap enough to build thousands. The engine was the key innovation. Engineer Fritz Goslau designed a pulse jet. Air enters the front. A shutter closes. Fuel ignites. The explosion shoots out the back, creating thrust. The shutter opens. The cycle repeats. 50 times per second. This creates the distinctive buzzing sound that Londoners would learn to fear. The pulse jet had no moving parts except the shutters. No turbines, no pistons, just a tube with fuel injection. Simple, reliable, cheap, and loud. The buzzing could be heard from miles away. The guidance system was equally simple. A gyroscope kept the V1 flying level. A magnetic compass kept it pointed toward London. An autopilot made small corrections. A mechanical counter tracked distance traveled by counting propeller rotations. When the counter reached the preset number, it triggered the dive mechanism. The engine cut out. The V1 pitched forward and fell. The accuracy was terrible. The V1 might land anywhere within several miles of the aim point. But the target was London, a city of millions. Accuracy did not matter. The weapon would hit something. The warhead carried 850 kilograms of amytol explosive, enough to destroy an entire city block, enough to kill everyone within 100 meters of impact. The blast could be felt a mile away. Production began in early 1944. The V1 was designed for mass manufacturing. Stamped metal components. Simple assembly, no precision machining required. Factories across Germany built V1s, including concentration camp labor. By June 1944, production reached several hundred per week. The launch sites were built across northern France, concrete ramps pointing at London. Each ramp used a steam catapult to accelerate the V1 to flying speed. The pulse jet ignited. The V1 flew off the ramp and climbed to cruising altitude. Then it flew itself to England. The first V1 hit London on June 13, 1944, 1 week after D-Day. The weapon arrived at 4:18 a.m. The buzzing woke people across the city. Then the engine cut out. Silence. Then the explosion. 6 people died in that first attack. Within days, dozens of V1s were hitting London daily. Then hundreds. The terror was immediate and profound. Londoners could hear death approaching. The buzz grew louder as the weapon got closer. Then it stopped, and you had 15 seconds to take cover or die. Civilians developed survival instincts around the sound. When the buzzing started, people would locate the direction, track it mentally, judge if it was coming closer or passing by. If it was close and the sound cut out, they dove for cover. Under tables, in doorways, anywhere that might provide protection from the blast. The randomness made it worse. The V1 fell wherever its fuel ran out. No warning, no target selection, just mechanical chance. A wealthy neighborhood, a factory, a park, a hospital. The weapon did not discriminate. It just fell and exploded. British defenses struggled to respond. The V1 flew at 350 miles per hour at low altitude. Too fast for most anti-aircraft guns, too low for high-altitude fighters. The weapon was small and hard to hit. Early interception attempts failed more often than they succeeded. RAF Fighter Command developed new tactics. The fastest fighters were assigned to anti-V1 patrols. Hawker Tempests, Supermarine Spitfire 14s, Gloucester Meteors. These aircraft could catch the V1 at low altitude, but shooting it down was difficult. The V1 was small, fast, and if you hit it wrong, the explosion could destroy your aircraft. Pilots learned to fire from behind and slightly below, hit the wing or tail, avoid the warhead. Some pilots developed an even more dangerous technique. They would fly alongside the V1 and tip it with their wing. This flipped the gyroscope and sent the weapon into a dive. No ammunition needed. But one mistake meant collision. Anti-aircraft guns were redeployed to the coast. New radar-directed guns, proximity-fused shells. The gun line formed a barrier along the English coast. Every V1 had to pass through concentrated anti-aircraft fire before reaching London. Thousands of guns firing constantly. Barrage balloons were deployed in rings around London, cables hanging from balloons at various altitudes. The V1 would hit the cable and crash. Simple but effective. Hundreds of V1s were destroyed by balloon cables. Despite these defenses, thousands got through. London was hit repeatedly, day and night. The buzzing became part of daily life. People learned to sleep through the sound as long as the engine kept running. But everyone woke when the sound stopped. The V1 killed over 6,000 people in England, most of them civilians, most of them in London. Another 17,000 were seriously injured. Over 1 million buildings were damaged or destroyed. Entire neighborhoods were leveled. The psychological impact was severe. The Blitz in 1940 had been terrifying, but it involved aircraft you could see, pilots you could understand. The V1 was different. It was a machine, heartless, mindless. It buzzed toward you, and when it fell silent, you died. There was no one to hate, no pilot to shoot down, just a weapon that flew itself to kill you. The attacks continued through summer and autumn 1944. Allied advances across France captured the launch sites. The V1 campaign shifted to air launches. German bombers would carry V1s and release them over the North Sea. Fewer V1s reached England, but the attacks continued. The final V1 hit England on March 29, 1945. By then, over 9,000 had been launched. British defenses destroyed roughly half. The rest hit England. Most fell on London and the surrounding areas. The V1 was not a decisive weapon. It did not change the war's outcome. Germany was losing regardless. But the weapon created terror disproportionate to its actual military value. And it proved a concept that would shape warfare for decades. The V1 was the first cruise missile, a pilotless aircraft that flew itself to a target and exploded. Modern cruise missiles are vastly more sophisticated. GPS guidance, terrain-following radar, precision targeting, but the concept is identical. Launch, navigate autonomously, strike target. The V1 pioneered this approach. After the war, both America and the Soviet Union studied captured V1s. The American JB-2 Loon was a direct copy. Soviet engineers developed their own versions. The cruise missile concept became central to Cold War arsenals. The V1 also demonstrated the terror potential of autonomous weapons. Londoners feared the V1 not because it was particularly deadly, but because it was inhuman. a machine that killed without thought, without mercy. That psychological dimension influenced thinking about autonomous weapons for generations. London, summer 1944. The buzzing starts again. A woman in her kitchen stops stirring her tea. She listens. The sound is distant, moving north, not toward her. She relaxes slightly, but she keeps listening, because the sound might change direction. The engine might cut out, and then she would have 15 seconds. The V-1 flying bomb was crude, simple, inaccurate. It killed fewer people than conventional bombing, but it created terror that conventional weapons could not match. Because you heard it coming, you heard it getting closer, you heard it stop, and then you died. That was the Doodlebug, the buzzing bomb that taught London to listen for silence, and the weapon that could not be shot down became the one Londoners feared most.